CAD 134, Basic AutoCAD for Interior Design, Joe Cerrone, Module 2, Bonus Assignment. We're going to take a look at the bonus assignment located here in D2L. You can download it by clicking on the arrow and select Download, and then Open, and it'll link to your AutoCAD and open in what's called Model Space. And that's what this tab is right here. As we look at the screen, this exercise is just a template in which we'll create the table in this vase with a little bit of a lamp here using a graph paper called a grid and a snap. And so here's the icons down here at the bottom that allow you to turn them on and off. And you can also hit this little arrow next to it and go to these settings. And then you want to make sure that your snap is on and your grid is on. And the snap increment is 1/8, and the grid increment or the grid spacing is 1/4. The rest of this stuff you really don't need to worry about. Polar tracking we'll leave disabled. Object snap we'll leave disabled, along with the rest of them we'll just leave off. So this exercise is meant to be a piece of graph paper that we trace over with the commands. So I'm going to OK that. My graph is enabled. You can also access the drafting settings by having the menu bar on, and mine is on, and under Tools, Drafting Settings. So with the drafting settings for snap and grid being on, we can then work on the drawing itself. And we have these draw commands right over here in this panel. And this is what's known as the ribbon. And so you have a draw panel, and then you have a modify panel. Annotation is just a fancy word for dimensioning. And then layers are used, like right now this green layer is locked and is off so that we can work on it. And that's what this little lock here is. And there's a lot of buttons here in AutoCAD, so we just take them a few at a time. And so we're going to start off with these basic draw commands right here. And as we look at the table, we'll start with the line command. And what we can do is we can either use the line command or the rectangle command. And I think I'll use the rectangle command first. Rectangle command is located right here, and you can click on that. And then you can navigate by either using these pan commands here on the side, or you can use view commands like zoom window. And that way the magnification gets bigger and it's just easier to read. And as you see my cursor move, you can see that it snaps twice to every grid, because each grid is 1/4 of an inch. If I were to make a small square, and if I click on it, these are called grips. And if you hover over a grip, you'll get drawing information about it. Alrighty, and we can then erase that. So if we start off by creating a rectangle, we can create a rectangle, bring it over here, bring it up, and click. We're drawing on layer 0, and it's blue. I have my line weights enabled, and as we look at these buttons down at the bottom of the screen, you don't need to know what everything does to start off with, but you do want to have pretty much everything checked off. And one of the things I like to use is what's called line weights. And so the line weight button is this button right here. And if I turn it off, you'll see that the lines are much harder to read than with the line weights on. And line weights are part of drafting standards that we have for engineering graphics that are set. When you used to draw with a pencil, you would buy pencils at certain diameter lead, like a 0.3 millimeter or a 0.5 millimeter or 0.7 millimeter. And then you would draw with those different pencils and different grades of lead. So dark lines would be softer leads. And so we simulate that in the CAD system by using what's called line weights. And it's in our layer properties here where we can set these line weights. And we've set them for you for this CAD example, and that's what your CAD managers will do when they start people off. And so there's those rectangles, and we can just continue to kind of go through this and just grab all the rectangular shapes that we want. If you wanted to do lines, you can use the line command, and then you can draw a line. And I'm just left mouse clicking, turning the wheel of the mouse, pushing the wheel of the mouse, line. Right mouse click, enter to pick up the pen, right mouse click, repeat line. AutoCAD likes the right mouse, left mouse kind of technique as you work with it, but you can always come back over here and choose the line icon. You can also hit the space bar, which will bring back the last command, and it'll also terminate. And so oftentimes I'll draw with my left hand on the keyboard and my right hand on the mouse, and it's a little bit faster. For these circular shapes, we'll use a 3-point arc command. And so here's the 3-point, and if you hover over the command long enough, it will give you the help screen, which shows you the mouse clicks. So the first click is 1, second is 2, and the third is 3. And that's how the drawing will be created. So mouse click 1, 2, and 3. And then we can repeat the command by right clicking, repeat arc. 2 needs to be pretty much right there at the 12 o'clock location. If you make it like over here, and then you bring it over here, it's not as perfect. And if you click on it, you can use a grip to make it aligned. There we go. And I'm going to hit escape because I don't want to repeat the arc command. These circular shapes are created with the donut command, and you could create a circle and then use a fill pattern, or you can use this donut command. I kind of like it. It's kind of an interesting name. And so when you use the donut command, if you take the defaults, which means I'm just going to hit enter, what they have is the size of the circular shape or the geometry. And so the donut is a 1/2 inch ID and then a 1 inch OD, and what by default we would get would be something like that. Well, these grids are quite small, and so I'm not sure what this donut size will be. And so if I hit escape here, and then I erase that, and what I can do, your donuts don't have to be perfect or right on there as far as this goes. You can see that they're in the snap zone. And so if I go and I say donut, and we're going to make the inside diameter 0 and the outside diameter, let's say 1/8. Yeah, it looks like the size. There we go. So, and then we can just go and click in these template locations. There's no right or wrong answers for it. Let's say you wanted to maybe change the colors up a little bit. You can come up here to properties. Alrighty, and then if we wanted to, if we wanted to put our name onto this, we can go to the text, and I'll go with multi-line text, and you make a little box for it, and you can then put your name in the drawing exercise. And it looks like it failed. Let me try that again. and then you can hit the green check mark. Once you're done with the drawing, you can save it by selecting the big red A, or by going to File, or by selecting one of the save icons. I'm going to go with the disk icon, and actually I'm going to go with Save As. Let's try that again. And I'll just save it into my downloads, and what I'll do is I'll just change the name to my initials. It's just an organizational tool that I like to use. If you lose a file, you can always search by your initials. And I'll save that. And that completes this exercise. To turn that exercise in D2L, what we'll do is we'll go to our D2L course management software, and we'll go to the assignments area. And then here in chapter 2, you can see where the submissions are. We can select the chapter 2 submission, and then we can go and add a file, locate your file. You can drag and drop it if you're familiar with that technology. Here's my file. I'll add it. Feel free to add a note. Submit. And the system will tell you that your submission was successful, and you'll get a little email or a little indicator that tells you that the drawing was submitted properly. And then once it's submitted, we'll go through and grade that for you. Alrighty, that completes this video.